All right, we are finally live. There we go. For some reason, I don't know why, but YouTube just like as soon as I went hit go live, it just said scheduling go live. So for whatever reason, it was stuck on scheduling. But we're finally live today. I finally figured it out. For whatever reason, YouTube has had some oddities lately, but we're here now. So I know that there's a few questions last week that didn't get answered. I saw that a bunch of people chatted in, and for some reason, I couldn't see anything. So apologies about the technical difficulties, but we are live today. Let me go. Let's see. All right. Yep, looks like we're good to go. I can see myself on the other part. Perfect. If anybody that's here could just drop like a hey or hi, just so I can make sure that everyone sees me. For whatever reason, YouTube has just been really, really odd lately. Hey, Cecilia. Hey, actually, no worries about last week. I couldn't get live to work last week for whatever reason. It just would not show up for me. It just said it would just be stuck on the spinning like go live, and it would just never actually go live, and I ended up running out of time. Could not get the thing to work for the life of me, so I'm not sure exactly why. But no worries. I was actually gone last week, so on accident because I couldn't figure this out. Now this is working, so good to see you. Martha, hey Martha, how are you? Christian, best practices for Broadmatch for e-commerce. So think small in terms of the keyword list. Know that the amount of keywords in Broadmatch are going to directly be a correlation of how much your ad spend can be efficient with. So what that means is that if you have $20 a day, you really only have enough ad spend for probably 2 to 3 keywords. If you have $1,000 a day, you can go up to like 20, 25. The broad match keywords are much different than the typical like kind of phrase and exact match, and in that it is going to match for many, 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 many different keywords, even your brand name, even competitor names. So it's going to match up for a lot of stuff. So what I would say is from a keyword perspective, use qualitative keywords. So let's say you're having, let's say you sell mouse pads. So buy mouse pads, order mouse pads, purchase mouse pads online. Those type of keywords are going to be much better than just mouse pads because you're going to think about everyone going to Google broadly matching for the term that you're bidding on. So if you qualify that term, it's a lot easier for Google to identify what you're looking for and then see consistency. And they're going to find synonyms with what your keyword is. So obviously, best mouse pad, those things are going to be better. Use qualitative keywords that are going to be indicators to Google that you're looking for purchasers, and it's going to find people who are typing in purchasing type of keywords. Um, just know that start small because 3 keywords in Broadmatch will, if you, let's just say you had 20 keywords you want to run, choosing the top 4 keywords of those or top 3 or 4 top 4 keywords is actually, it's going to search for those anyway. And you can actually start with 5 keywords, run them for like a week, hop into ad preview and diagnosis, and then start doing searches in ad preview and diagnosis. And you'll see that those broadly matched keywords will match for those keywords, or those search terms that you're using in ad preview and diagnosis will match for those 5 keywords. It goes broad. It's very, very powerful, and it's very expensive if you say, well, I have $20 a day and here's 100 keywords. You have to think about, it's going to have to try to find consistency with those 100 keywords with only $20 a day. It's going to take a long time. So keep it small, keep it relevant, keep it very focused. Use qualitative keywords and then give it time, and use an automated bidding strategy to either maximize conversions or target CPA, depending upon how well your campaign knows that conversion action, and then go from there. Thomas, hola, hey Thomas. Appreciate everyone saying hi. This helps me. Want to make sure everyone saw it. Cecilia says, I noticed how important site speed is for a profitable campaign. Yeah, it is. It is one of the biggest indicators for landing page experience. Even more so, I would say even more so than landing page content is site speed. It's just been the like #1 ranking factor lately. So 70% of my traffic comes from phones, and I just realized this month I lost 59% of the traffic I paid for due to loading time. We are working on it right now. Do you have any special recommendations to increase site speed? What are your thoughts on amps? Do you think amps are necessary? So I would say use the page speed insights. Google has something called Google's page speed insights, and that will actually tell you how fast your site is based on how Google's going to rank you. GT metrics and the other ones are good, but none of them matter in terms of Google besides page speed insights. Page speed insights will actually don't know if I can drop a link, but just go to Google, type in PageSpeed Insights, and you'll go there. But it'll actually give you a checklist of everything that you need to change on your site on mobile and on desktop in order to make that faster. And so that checklist is perfect. Amps, I don't think are necessary. AMP is really good for organic. It's not necessarily, it's good for ads, but you lose a lot of the CSS. You lose a lot of the design. It leaves a lot to be desired. You can't make a landing page that's kind of, like sexy and urgent as you would want to, when you use AMP. So I don't think AMP's necessary unless your CMS just possibly can't get that fast. But that PageSpeed Insights will actually give you a checklist of everything that you need to do to fix it in order to make sure it's fast. And it actually tells you, if you did fix it, what would be the speed increase. So definitely, Cecilia, use PageSpeed Insights as your kind of go-to measuring tool. Militia says, hey, John, client sells medical equipment through DME and is having trouble tracking conversions because sometimes customer goes directly through DME and not them. Any way to track conversions? DME. I'm not sure. Can you let me know what DME is? I'm thinking that's on the manufacturer's website, but I don't know for sure. Can you let me know what that is? I will make sure I'm not assuming something incorrect, but then I'll go back to that question. Corey says, thanks for your time today. Yeah, thank you very much, Corey. Thanks for being here. Campaign budget or smart bidding target percentage increase, decrease threshold you stick to. It's interesting. We kind of have a fine, not a fine line, but we have to balance a good line between what we want and what a client can afford being an agency. If we see just really, really, really good performance, like if your target ROAS is set at 300 and you're getting 750, you can essentially double that campaign. It depends really upon how well that campaign is performing. If you're using smart bidding, use your safety net. What I mean by that is you're going to have kind of a line where it says, hey, I can't go below 300% ROAS, or I can't go above $65 in target CPA. Use those as kind of bumpers, and then increase your budget until you'll see that it actually starts to hit that threshold and limit the spend. So if you had a target ROAS of 400% and your campaign's been running for 6 months, you can actually hit target ROAS of 375 and crank that thing up to $10,000 per day, and might only spend $800 a day because it's going to hit that budget. So what I would say is, when you're overperforming, get aggressive. You can go 50, 100% increases per day if it's working really, really well. If it's not scaling, that's when you have to check out my YouTube video called How to Scale a Smart Shopping Campaign. It works for every automated bidding strategy. What you need to do is release the goal, let it learn, and then start to spend more. And then once you reach the next threshold, turn that goal back on, and you'll see a dip, but you've stepped up to the next threshold. So, and I think Regina actually did a video recently about it, how it's proven out, and after a year, you see how much it's scaled, and it works really, really well. But smart bidding is going to limit the amount of ad spend that you can spend based on when you hit that goal. And so that's just a good way to not rely solely on, oops, I spent too much, is make sure those goals are being met. And then if they're being exceeded, you can scale. And if they're not being exceeded, you just simply won't be able to spend more money, and you need to turn those off and then give it some time. When you add Broadmatch as a keyword in an ad group, do you pause exact and phrase match in the same ad group? So if I run a Broadmatch campaign, I only run Broadmatch in all campaigns, period, unless it's brand. Reason being is that Broadmatch campaign is going to start to even overtake your other campaigns, phrase and exact. And that's the part that I don't think people understand a lot of times, is that if you're running an exact match campaign and you're running a Broadmatch campaign, go to Ad Preview and Diagnosis and type in that keyword, and you'll see that the exact match will usually not be running, and the Broadmatch will usually be running. Broadmatch is super aggressive and it's super selfish. And since it usually has less CPC than your exact match, Google simply chooses it because it's going to be the cheaper click. You get more clicks, and depending on the bidding strategy, most of the time, it just favors Broadmatch. So if you're running Broadmatch and exact match and phrase match, use Ad Preview and Diagnosis, Christian. You're going to find out that the other campaigns might not be performing as well, or might just be getting too eaten up. So what I would do is actually add the exact match and phrase match keywords inside the Broadmatch campaign, so that the Broadmatch doesn't try to eat those up as well. Also, can I send you an email with a description of medical equipment client with an in-depth question for you to answer at your leisure? Yeah, sure. Go ahead and send it to me. I'll answer as soon as I can. Christian, do you exclude Google Ads website visitors in generic non-brand campaigns to avoid serving? I do. It doesn't work. I don't know why. We even went so far as to say, Build an audience of people that made it to like the thank you for logging in page. And for some reason, it's just like, yep. And I even did it as a conversion action to measure. And said, okay, if you made it to this page, this is an audience that's excluded. And then I said, if you make it to that page, though, count you as a conversion in the all conversion tab. And then I looked over in my search campaigns, and it's like you had 100 clicks, and 27 of them made it to the login page. It's like, and these are people that had to have been logging in for some time. It's not like a first sign up or something like that. You can exclude them. Just know that Google does a really, really, really terrible job at actually excluding those people. So absolutely do it as a best practice, because it's going to do nothing but help. It just may not help that much. I don't know why Google has a really, really horrible job at doing that, but I even said, here's my audience, exclude them. I said, okay, well, that person came in and that person was not in this audience. We could then identify them as being in this audience, so we serve that ad. It does a really terrible job of that. I don't know why. Thomas, how do you manage the negatives between 3 to 5 broad? You actually won't necessarily need to. Again, Broadmatch is going to be for higher spend campaigns, in my opinion. The way to do this is look at the last, let's say, 7 days, sort by clicks descending, and anything that's had more than 2 impressions, that's when you want to add those as negatives. You're never going to get anywhere by adding negatives of like 1 click and 1 impression, or 1 impression, 0 clicks, and for like longer tail. Problem is, because you're kind of you're the police that show up after the crime, like it's already been committed, and you're like, haha, how do I solve this again? Well, it's just going to keep happening because it's the one search that someone did one time, and you add it as a negative, but that doesn't mean that it's going to happen again. So look at where you're seeing more impressions, more clicks, then use those as your negatives, and then add those as just your exact match negatives. That'll stop that from happening again. But it's, yeah, the part where it sucks is like it's hard to negative keyword yourself out of broad. What you should be doing is trying to lean into where it's going to be converting. If you can identify where those conversions are coming in from, and then tighten TCPA, or maximize conversion value at a TROAS, around those keywords, you'll be able to see that it'll actually push away a lot of those negatives, because they're just going to stop bidding on it. So what you have to do is kind of, play the negative keyword cop and keep doing that. But as Google finds what works, you'll just see that it just starts expanding into what works way more than what doesn't work. Given the current state of close variant matching and search term visibility, do you find yourself adding exact match keywords less often? Yeah, I rarely do exact match unless I know that that's going to be something I want, or I need to focus on placement. If it's just I use phrase match most often, unless it's e-commerce, and I use Broadmatch. Broadmatch does a poor job at doing any good lead generation. So I don't use any broad for lead generation. I only use phrase and exact for lead generation. E-commerce, I use broad. But I find myself using phrase match most often, because that's most. I used Broadmatch modifier. I use that the most often, and that's most akin to now phrase match. And so I use that as much as possible, because that's going to give me at least some longer tail, really relevant searches with some variants that I'm okay with. But I usually use phrase match most often now. Do you use Broadmatch in own brand campaign? So I actually don't. I use exact match only, just because I have like 10 different ways that people can type in a brand name. So if you use your Broadmatch in your brand campaign, you're also going to get non-brand and competitive search terms in a brand campaign running broad. So I wouldn't recommend it. I haven't tested that too much though, so maybe try that. Just know that your Google's going to say, okay, well, here's your brand, here's the things like your brand, here's the competitors of your brand, here's what your brand's about, and it's just going to shove that all into your brand campaign. It's actually going to probably steal from other campaigns. What do you do if the brand you are doing Google Ads for has a number of retailers with substantially lower prices for the same products on Google? Smart shopping, or even Performance Max now. So what you need to do, Christian, I would actually recommend Performance Max for you. Know that Performance Max is going to steal out of every other campaign. It's going to steal from your brand, steal from your competitors, steal from your general, steal from your smart shopping, steal from your remarketing, steal from YouTube, steal from GSP, or sorry, steal from Discover. It's going to steal traffic from all those. Performance Max is kind of like all campaigns in one. Performance Max for retail does work really well, but I kind of recommend it for you, Christian, actually. Reason being is that you need to get to the user before they just go to Google and type something in. if you have products that are being really competitive, you have to earn the viewership and earn the conversion before they're saying, I think I need this, and then go to Google, type it in and see you and then 15 of your competitors all with lower pricing. That's bad. So standard shopping, in my opinion, would not work. But Performance Max would, because it's going to impress them with display ads. It's going to get them YouTube ads. It's going to cover search. It will run shopping, but it will run remarketing. I would run a Performance Max for a retail campaign, Christian. That's going to be a way for you to capture attention, get them to buy your product first before they find out that you're not the cheapest. You want to take yourself out of that competitive ecosystem. All right, Spanish online yoga platforms earn an average of only 15 euro month client. LTV is around 100, so it's very hard to make campaigns profitable. I still believe I can make it work, but I need to find the key. Yeah, you're in a very difficult market. What I would do is I would almost run like a free and then a paid version. So offer Cecilia, and I'm not a really good, I'm not in this space very well, but what I would say is find a way to differentiate yourself between the people that just get the everything that they're looking for, don't want to pay for it, versus a upcharge version. And kind of call them maybe like a VIP, so overused, but think of it like, Select or Premier, whatever it is, and offer them so much more value that it'd be stupid for them not to take it. We did this with a company called Nido Marketing. We said, hey, we will give you for $1,000 a month, you're going to get a website, a CRM, your blogs, your social posting, Google ads, Facebook ads. Like you're going to get everything for $1,000 a month. And people are like, or you just come to us and get, your free training on how to do this all yourself. And it kind of becomes obvious. So like, well, I can learn how to do this and get all my content, everything I want for free, but I got to do it to work. Or for $1,000 a month, I get literally everything I ever could have asked for handed to me on a silver platter and done for me. It's just like, of course. And so we made it stupid obvious that they would need to sign up, because if you did this tech stack yourself, you get a CRM tool for the cost of everything that we do. And so it just made it's like stupidly obvious. So what I would do is try to find a way to give an immense amount of value, more than what it's worth, to your VIP clients, because you're going to gain the looky-loos that just want the free stuff or just want the easy stuff. And maybe you're like, hey, I record a class and you get it a week after it's already done. But for my Premier clients, what we're doing is the worksheet together. Have you tracked your goals? And have you done this? And are you doing this long enough? And have you ascended to level 3 now, because this is where we're going to be doing this. Okay, everyone else, yeah, I did stretches this week, and here you go. And just kind of make it like so obvious that they need to sign up and be a part and miss out that FOMO, that fear of missing out of joining in that higher ranking class. I think could be good. And then splinter that off and then post a week later, and then have people just go to it and do the free stuff. And then what happens is those people are going to want to join the other part. That'd be my recommendation. Durable medical equipment company. Oh, okay. Or third party. Let me go back up and listen to your other question. Client sells medical equipment through DME and is having tough trying tracking conversions, because sometimes client. The only way that I would say that you could do that, if you do have visibility inside of the DME of who was first. So you advertise, you go to their site, and then they just Google it. This is going to sound stupid, but identify the way that they're going to the DME. If they're bidding on the brand name of the DME, or if you can bid on the brand name of the DME and capture those people to come back through you. I don't know enough about this industry to solve this problem. It's a very complex problem to have. And it's one that every kind of affiliate marketer kind of uses, the issue that they have. What you got to do is you got to find the point of conversion, then try to get aggressive in that. And also find the time of the sale. Like if it's a 30-day, time to sale, man, you could use custom audience or remarketing audience date. That wouldn't really work, because it's only going to be the average. Let's email me on that offline. I'll see if I can help you there. That's going to be a really difficult thing to solve, and I don't think I can solve it on a live, but it might be helpful. All right. I only use keywords that produce conversions after spending quite a bit of money. We don't have search ads or remarketing display ads. Should I test other? Oh, we only have search and remarketing. I would say YouTube could be good. Cecilia, I think that you might want to massage that model, the business model first, though. Only because that business model, you're going to need to attract a massive amount of people and then convert the people that want to pay for it. I don't know if going to direct to conversion is going to be enough. I think you need to attract an audience, provide value, warm them up, then sell them. So Cecilia, I would take a good look at your user journey in comparison to your competitors and say, why would they come to the site? Why would they stay? And why would they buy? And landing page, in my opinion, there's so much noise in the space that it might not be enough. As example, you're here because I give free content away on Google Ads. We spend $34 million a year on Google Ads with 176 clients, and I have 62 employees. I absolutely could not be here, and people would still sign up and pay us money. But I'm here, and that's not to sell all of you. I'm providing everyone here just valuable content for free, and you just keep coming back for more. And if I was affordable, or if you're in a position, you would pay me money. So that's where you can kind of see this already starting to happen. And that's why I think that this is that value first type of proposition is how to cut through that noise. So I saw your email just actually come in, so let's talk about that offline. Thank you for making these videos, Chris. Yeah, or cheers. I'm not sure. I'm so sorry. That was Chris, but yeah, absolutely. Happy to do so. Aloha, Master John. Hey, Dan. If there is a smart shopping campaign that was spending $22 per day for the last 5 months and ROAS are above 3, which is good, safety increase to 40 to 50 a day. Yeah, I would absolutely. No, 23 to 40 to 50, not a problem. No, that smart shopping actually does better with higher budgets because think of it, there's 3 audiences. So your inbound, your remarketing, and your outbound dynamic prospecting. So with bigger budgets, each one of those areas performs better. So absolutely increase to 40 to $50 a day. Make sure you give it at least a month though. It's got to go through your timeline. It's got to find the new audience, and it has to start to sell them, and has to be able to get that consistently. It's going to take at least a month. So give it that 40 to $50 a day. You should be fine, especially if it's over 3. Don't worry if you go below 2. It will come back. Just got to give it time. Cecilia, can you mix exact and phrase match in the same campaign? Yeah. Yep, that's fine. You can absolutely mix exact and phrase. Those are okay. You can't mix broad into that, but you can mix exact and phrase into a campaign. If you want to separate them out by ad group, this way you can look at ad group and maybe manage performance by ad group. Might be a good way to do so, but yeah, completely fine to do that. Hey, John, what would be the best bidding strategy for small budget e-commerce business? Man, depends on the channel, depends on the products, depends on the price, depends on how small a budget we're talking about. Small budget e-commerce business, run Performance Max. Give it time. I would run Performance Max, use maximize conversion value, and give it time. And Keith, when ecom course we launch from solutions, I hope soon. This has been a craziest year. We've like doubled in size this year. So it's just been, and we're not an education business, we're a service business. So we don't really have a lot of courses. We actually just shot at Digital Marketer headquarters the news paid traffic certification. So my opinion would be if you're looking to have like a course, take that certification from Digital Marketer. It'll be live, I think, before the end of the year. But that's kind of, we did that because we had to shoot videos for 3 days and that they do the work because we just didn't have the capacity to do so. So Digital Marketer is actually launching their course, and we did the paid traffic mastery for that. Let's see. If you can't wait 90 days before giving smart shopping campaign enough time to get to a ROAS without a T-ROAS target, when's the soonest you could add a T-ROAS given 24-hour click-to conversion average? Corey, is your ecom Prodigy working right? A 24-hour click-to conversion average seems like remarketing is not necessarily, or dynamic prospecting is not working. I would say I've never seen that. I do see that very, very rarely. So just check ecom Prodigy. Make sure when you go into ecom Prodigy that is firing the exact item ID that your feed has. And then if so, start now. If it's got I would say at least 45 days. If you start earlier than that, you're going to find out that you can get the ROAS, but you might spend like $12 a day. And you're like, well, crap, now I got to do it over again. So wait at least $45 a day. Wait at least 45 days. That'd be my opinion. Quick time check here. Okay, cool. Is it your SOP just to use Broadmatch from the get-go for e-commerce client, or do you start? Yeah, actually, so yes, it is actually an SOP to use Broadmatch. I'm going to pay 1/5 of the price per click, and I'm going to identify keywords that I had no idea worked. There's a lot of companies out there that have search terms that are not what they sell, and I would have never gone after them, that I have found through Broadmatch. And Broadmatch is also the most scalable. So there's two things that an agency has to think about: is can I get the ROAS quickly? Can I not eat up too much of the budget to learn as fast as I possibly can? And can I scale this thing to 10x once I find it? I can't do that very well in phrase and exact on e-commerce. I can do that in smart shopping, so that's why we typically spend way more on smart shopping. Search on e-commerce is a very small campaign that we run. It's not one of our main campaigns. Or sorry, it's one of our main campaigns, but it's not one of the main spending campaigns. So we use Broadmatch, find out what works, start to hone that in, start to grow, start to scale. But I can scale a 20 keyword Broadmatch campaign to $3,500 a day. I can't do that in phrase exact, not profitably anyway. So just know that use Broad to find out what keywords are going to work, not pay too much for them, still have a smart bidding strategy that's learning, still find negative keywords that I have to do. I don't know the exact keywords that is going to sell an e-commerce product every time. Broadmatch will tell me that every time. So use it as you would. Do you pin headlines and description in RSAs? No, only because you'll see that if you have 15 different headlines and 4 different descriptions, as soon as you pin one, your quality of that ad relevancy goes from good to poor. It like circles all the way back around the other side. So the only time I pin it is to brand campaigns. I'll pin those headlines because I don't really care what my quality score is. It's a brand campaign. So for non-brand search campaigns using RSAs, which is the only thing you really should be doing, I don't pin it. Even if the client doesn't like it, I would rather lose the client than try to abide by paying way too much because the client just wanted their ad to look a certain way. It's like, what do you want? Do you want good performance, good CPCs, a good quality score, or do you want your headline to say this and headline number 2? You can only have one. So at that point in time, it's like, please sign here saying I'm purposely messing up my campaigns. Like it's that bad. So I don't do that. Where am I? I lost my place here. Oh, custom intent keywords or YouTube content keywords for YouTube ads for e-commerce. For YouTube ads, a really good way to do this is to imagine YouTube is going to go like super broad. So use your intent keywords. What I would normally do is go through your search terms, anything that's had a conversion within goal, those not your keywords, the search terms, add those as your DSKs in YouTube. Those seem to work the best. I've had one called on a client that we spent about 20 grand a day on YouTube. How to Amazon. That one works the best. Why? Because people are going to Google and going to YouTube and reading blogs about how to do something on Amazon, how to sell more, how to blah, 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 how to get the buy box, how to, lower my costs. And this is a Amazon training company. So how to Amazon works really, really well. It's not a good keyword, but people literally typed in how to Amazon and I got a conversion. So I was like, oh, whatever. I put that in, it works really well. So look at your search terms, find the search terms that convert, and then use those as your DSK. And not custom intent keywords. I still use keywords, the DSK, or I think it's what they call display video keywords now. You can call them DVK. We call them DSK for like years, so that's why I just still call it that. For brands with a lot of products and variants, do you recommend using all variant images in the shipping feed or first image? Nope. So I would actually consolidate that down to just one variant. My best performing product for one of my clients is the small t-shirt in ads. That's the best performing. That actually is the variant that is sold the least in real life. They click on that ad and they buy something. People need to understand that when you look at Google Ads in your product list, if you see a picture of a product and then 100 impressions and 5 clicks and 1 sale, that sale doesn't need to come from that product. It just means someone clicked on that ad and bought a thing. That's it. So Google needs consistency. It's going to find the Pareto's 80-20 rule that 80% of your sales are going to come from 20% of your products. And then obviously you can break out smart shopping campaigns and then well diversify and that kind of stuff. But when you're kind of first starting out, what you don't want to do is say, okay, here's $100 a day and here's 10 different variants of this one product. Find me which one works first. It's like, well, 2 clicks, 3 clicks, 1 click, 5 clicks. It's not going to be able to basically find what works and scale it. It will, but you have to spend a bunch of money on all the different variants just to find an audience, because people know that they're going to click on an ad and then go to the website and choose their size. And ask yourself this: how often have you searched for like a shoe online and be like, man, that ad was for the size 9, I'm a size 10. No, you click on it and you change it to size 10. It doesn't matter. So consolidate the variants, because Google's going to say, okay, now I can have an ad spend per product, not an ad spend per product per variant. You need to have 10 times the ad spends if you have 10 times the variants. So consolidate. It's going to be the easiest way for Google to learn what is going to sell. And then for your image, I mean, whatever image works the best. I mean, if the first image sucks, use the second one, but or change that to the first image. But hopefully your first image is the best image. That's just best practice, and that will be pulled right in through your feed if you're using like Content API or even just a feed management tool. What are your thoughts on pay per lead programs? So the like Google's pay per lead, it gets spammed like crazy. What I find, there's a few things. Pay per conversion. If you're, this is what we're talking about. Google actually has something called pay per conversion. It's not available to everyone. You need to be spending enough, and Google needs to know the audience well enough to offer that as a conversion, bidding strategy. A few things happen. One, it's very sporadic. Two, you have to set your target CPA to what you're willing to pay for a lead. And if you set it too low, it just dies. And then three, when you set it to the point where it's going to get good conversions, you'll notice that it gets spammed for whatever reason really often. And it's usually higher than your CPA of what you would have normally got if you were doing it on your own. So I don't like them. I don't use them. I've tested them a bunch, especially for like really hard, high spend clients. Never worked. So I've never had a good experience, but I've tested it probably 15 times. And that's always been the one that I always just say, let's just shut this off. You know, I'm usually excited. The client's usually excited about it, but it just never pans out. I usually end up paying 30% more cost per lead for a spam lead than I would just doing it myself. Any idea why? And we love you for the content, John. thanks, Dave. Andy says, any idea why Google Shopping reviews many times Google decides not to display? Any idea why Google Shopping reviews many times Google decides not to? Oh, okay, got it. If you're using a feed, if you're uploading the review feed into Google Merch Center, what we have found is that Google has some really strict, vague but strict rules. Like, have to have over 100 5-star. If it falls in that last 90 days, then it doesn't show. I would recommend using something like Trustpilot or I forget the other one, Shopper Approved. They will guide you through that as part of their paid service because this is so finicky. Unless you're just aggregating like hundreds of 5-star reviews a month, it might be worth talking to them at least and say, hey, what are the requirements? Because Google changes those requirements often, and it's like a rolling 90-day requirement. Like if a month ago you had a slow month, next month your ads or your reviews aren't going to show. So it's a big pain. And I forget the ones off the top of my head. We don't really use them very often. I've never seen a measurable difference between reviews. They're nice to have, but they're not a need to have. Hopefully that helps. Do you measure YouTube ads by view-through conversions? Yeah, actually I do. And I also use the assisted conversion area inside of the attribution under measurement inside tools. That helps me identify what the click and views are. The view-through conversions are going to be directly related to other campaigns you're running, if you're targeting the same people, and what your attribution model is. If you're using last click, view-through can really help you say, yeah, they saw this ad first, they just clicked on something else. If you're using first click, sometimes you'll have more conversions appended to the YouTube video. Google does a really poor job at attributing YouTube conversions. They're working on it. It's in beta. It's trying to come out. That's why we have Northbeam, because we can tell that perfectly. But if you're using view-through conversions, look at an indicator saying like, yeah, the audience that is seeing these ads are ultimately converting later on, just not through this campaign. That's okay. It's advertising. Every little bit helps, and just understand how that works in your funnel. Thank you so much. That's a great idea. You're welcome, Cecilia. Hello, John. How did you get your first PPC clients when you started your business? What would you recommend for someone that's just getting in the space? If you're just getting in the space, do it for yourself and then use yourself as your own case study. It's going to sound stupid, but you will never learn Google Ads as well as if you spent your own money on your own campaigns. And people here that run their own ads with their own money can attest to that. That's why you're all here if you're running your own money on your own ads. Prove yourself in your own e-commerce business first. That's one really good way. And then go above and beyond. So if someone says, why should I hire you? Say, how about this? Let me evaluate your campaign. I will shoot you a 30-minute video of every single thing I would do and exactly the reasons why. Let me run it for a month. And if you agree and you see that the value is, then you start paying me. So provide value first. You can't take necessarily the ivory tower approach on your first kind of clients. You have to go above and beyond and give more value than what it's worth to a customer. And then them say, okay, if you're willing to tell me what you're going to do it, and then show me how you do it, keep up with reporting, and then not charge me until you prove concept, I'll give you a shot. You have to do that because you can't be an agency like me that says, here's 150 other clients that have amazing success that can all cancel at any point in time. I had to start with the one and then convince everyone else that it's worthwhile. But you and I still do. I still will hop on a 30-minute and a 45-minute conversation and tell a client exactly what I would do, what their competitor's doing, what the ad spend should be, where everything is wrong, tell them and show them how to fix it all before they pay me a dime. I still do that because that's the way that I prove that I'm the best. And so if they agree, I have a great client now. That client will stay for a long time. But it's something that you have to provide a lot of value up front and first before they trust you enough to know how to do it. Remember, this is a big industry with a lot of shady characters, and everybody's been sold on something before that didn't pan out. So just know that you have to provide that value first up front. Hey John, I thought you had a bad experience with Performance Max. Hearing you recommend a few times now. What changed? Performance Max for retail. Performance Max for lead generation, bad. Performance Max for retail, like e-commerce, good. We use Performance Max on our own, failed miserably. Even Google's like, yeah, we know. It does a very poor job at getting good quality leads, but it does a good job at doing sales. Now, here's the big caveat. It's going to steal from everything. So if you're running like 5 campaigns in one and then you add Performance Max, just know that the other 5 campaigns are going to start to suffer and Performance Max for retail is going to look good. Here's the big thing though. Performance Max for retail will show up for your brand name in search. So it's going to look like it has really good performance right off the bat, and it does. And it does for a good reason. It's still doing a really good job. But I've seen brand campaigns get like 40% less conversion. All of a sudden, Performance Max gets like kind of ones right off the bat. So Performance Max, I think, is good for long term if you're kind of a set it and forget it, like run this thing, give it some time and let it run. Or if you tried smart shopping and everything else just doesn't work, that's a last ditch effort. Just say, hey, I don't care what works, just get something to work. Performance Max for retail can work good. Just don't use it for e-commerce campaigns. It's horrible. I would never. Right now, I wouldn't say never, but I don't recommend it right now. What do I do if I don't get good enough conversions to switch to enhanced CPC? Would you try it anyway? Use manual? No. I would say that using manual is great. Using enhanced CPC is basically like turning on maximize conversions. It's like, all right, should I overbid? Yeah, probably. I'll get more conversions that way. So if you're going to run manual. If you're like, hey, I want to run manual, I just don't know if I'm aggressive enough or if I might be overspending or if I might be way underspending, then you can turn on enhanced CPC. But if you know your numbers, then don't run enhanced. You don't need to. You prefer to start with new e-com accounts with Broadmatch rather than a DSA campaign? No. Not prefer. When a new e-com, I run smart shopping, brand, competitor, DSA, general, and then depending on anything else that they want to run. But those are the 5 campaigns I'll do. I'll do a brand campaign, a general campaign, maybe it's tofu, mofu, bofu, so 3 different general campaigns. But I run them all. That's why we require like at least $2,000 to $3,000 per month in ad spend, because I'm going to test everything and I'm going to find what works, and then I'm just going to consolidate to what works in that scale. I don't prefer one or the other. I prefer them all. And I find out and I let the market dictate how they want to buy from me. That's the smart thing. Google's never going to force someone to buy. Understand that very, very well. Like ingrain that into your system. Whatever you do on Google is not going to make someone buy. What your job as using Google Ads is to what message on what platform resonates with what people to buy. That's all you're doing. Like bidding strategies will not force someone. No one ever woke up one day and be like, dang it, I wasn't going to buy those shoes, but they use maximized conversions. I got to buy the shoes now. It doesn't happen. So think about the human element and test everything. Cool. Let's see, can I still use modified Broadmatch for negative keywords? No, unfortunately not. And I'm trying to go fast because I have 2 minutes left. I would still use everything in their phrase or exact on negative. Or if you just add it like open, it's just going to use the phrase anyway. In shopping campaigns, does having more items eat through your budget more quickly? Yeah. If you have like 6,000 SKUs, do 20 grand a day. And I'm not even joking. I do this. I hear this and see this and experience it all the time. I'll hop into a campaign. I'm like $100 a day, 5,700 SKUs. All right, in 6 years, this is gonna be awesome. Like it's gonna take that long to go through them. So know that the more options you have to Google and give it one big bank. It's like mouths to feed. I have $100 and I got to buy groceries for 6,000 people. Okay, you eat today, you eat tomorrow, you eat on Thursday. Like that's how that works. So just know that that's how Google's going to learn. I'm running DSA and smart shopping for a 3D printing supplies manufacturer. One of my DSA ads that were meant for a product category ended up driving 80% of sales with the brand name alone. Yeah. Essentially turned into a brand name. Yeah, DSA is heavily brand. Always add negatives in DSA. Always add your brand as a negative in DSA. Should I create a brand name ad? Yeah, I would. I absolutely create a brand campaign, funnel that all in over direction. Use even like search impression share predicting strategy or even manual CPC and don't overspend because you're probably overspending in DSA for your brand name. You probably don't have to spend that much in CPC. Move that over, exclude it inside of DSA, start over. I would highly recommend it. Yeah, even though it wasn't intended for that, yeah, I would absolutely do that. All right, I'm gonna do this last couple, or actually, crap. Now I got time for like one more. Hi, John. My smart shopping campaign is performing well, and I'm not adding any new products. Would you suggest updating the feed with new keywords? How often? If your smart shopping campaign is performing well and you're not adding new products, I would scale that thing until it stops. First off, then once you've reached the ceiling, that's when you work on feed optimizations. Because work on feed optimizations could actually hurt your existing campaign. So make sure you do that last. I'm so sorry I have a hard stop because I have a call starting in 30 seconds, but love you all, and I'll see you all next week.